Welcome to NTD News. I'm Paul Greaney. Here are today's top stories. Lindsey Graham introduced resolution condemning the House of Representatives impeachment process. Vice President Mike Pence stands firmly with Hong Kong in speech on China, stressing that he doesn't want the U.S. to cut trade ties with China, but condemned its human rights record, urging American businesses to do the same. Activists from countries under authoritarian pressure urge New Yorkers to protect freedom from tyranny. A fire is creeping through Northern California. Hundreds of people ordered to evacuate wine country. And the man who invented rechargeable lithium batteries and won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry this year. A reporter sat down with him. She heard about his life's work and what led to his world-changing invention. Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham introduced a resolution today condemning the House's impeachment process. Graham says the process has been unfair to the president and that his Republican colleagues in the House are also being sidelined.
The purpose of the resolution is to let the House know that the process you're engaging in regarding the attempted impeachment of President Trump is out of bounds.
The resolution calls for three things. The first is for the House to take an official vote to open the impeachment investigation, which House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has shot down in the past. The second is to give President Trump due process, such as the ability to call witnesses in his defense. And the third is to give Republicans, who are in the minority in the House, equal authority, such as subpoena power. The House is not required by law or its rules to do any of these things, but there is precedent for them in previous impeachment investigations.
I consider it to be out of bounds with what we've done in the past, void of basic due process.
Republicans sit on the three committees that are leading the investigation, but they say they are being sidelined by Democrats. One congresswoman on the House Intel Committee said Congress members were only allowed to read testimony transcripts if accompanied by a Democratic staffer. Graham's resolution is non-binding and wouldn't require the House to change course if passed. So far, Graham says he has 41 co-sponsors, all of them Republican. Holly Kellum, NTD News.
In a speech on the future of U.S.-China relations, Vice President Mike Pence said American businesses should stand up to Chinese censorship. He slammed Nike and the NBA for kowtowing to China on the issue of Hong Kong. NTD's Penny Zhou has more.
Nike promotes itself as a so-called social justice champion. But when it comes to Hong Kong, it prefers checking its social conscience at the door.
Earlier this month, Nike removed Rocket's merchandise from its major Chinese stores after Rocket's general manager tweeted his support for pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong.
American corporations should stand up for American values here at home and around the world.
Pence also criticized the NBA for acting like a wholly owned subsidiary of the Chinese authoritarian regime. Several prominent NBA players and coaches have expressed pro-Beijing views on Hong Kong's protests. The league has a huge fan base in China.
And some of the NBA's biggest players and owners who routinely exercise their freedom to criticize this country lose their voices when it comes to the freedom and rights of the people of China.
Pence also told Hong Kong protesters that they had the prayers and the admiration of millions of Americans.
To the millions in Hong Kong who have been peacefully demonstrating to protect your rights these past months, we stand with you. And President Trump has repeatedly made it clear that it would be much harder for us to make a trade deal if the authorities resort to the use of violence against protesters in Hong Kong.
He said that previous administrations believed that engaging with China economically will change it into a free country. But China's human rights records in the past decades showed the opposite effect. He said the Trump administration has forever changed that narrative. The U.S. now regards China as a strategic and economic rival. The vice president's speech received much attention from the Chinese language-speaking world. NTD's Chinese channel broadcast the speech with translation. Over 23,000 audience concurrently watched the speech. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
The pool of Democratic presidential candidates just got a little smaller. Congressman Tim Ryan announcing today that he is dropping out of the race.
The Ohio congressman posted a video on Twitter Thursday thanking his volunteers and donors.
I'm announcing today that I am withdrawing from the presidential campaign. After 7 long months of hard work, I'll be returning home to my family and friends and community in Ohio to run for re-election for my congressional seat.
Ryan's voice in the campaign was a moderate one, but his campaign was overshadowed by his mostly progressive competition. He failed to raise enough money to qualify for the last 2 presidential debates. Meanwhile, other campaigns are taking the spotlight. A new Quinnipiac University survey is dubbing Senator Elizabeth Warren leader of the Democratic primary. If the election were held today, the Massachusetts Democrat would supposedly garner 28% of the Democratic and independent vote, leaving former Vice President Joe Biden just 21%. However, CNN's Wednesday poll still shows Biden leading by 15 percentage points.
Democratic Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings is lying in state today at the U.S. Capitol. A formal memorial service was held in Statuary Hall for all members of Congress. Officials from both houses laid wreaths to honor Cummings. A public viewing was also held later in the day. Cummings passed away at the age of 68 after representing Maryland's 7th District for over 20 years. His funeral will be held Friday at the New Psalmist Baptist Church in Baltimore, where Barack Obama will give remarks. And last night, key activists from Hong Kong, North Korea, and other countries under authoritarian pressure urged New Yorkers to protect freedom from tyranny. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on the Oslo Freedom Forum.
Activists from Venezuela, Mexico, North Korea, and other countries spoke at this year's forum. One of the speakers, a former diplomat from North Korea, risked everything alongside his family and successfully defected from the Hermit Kingdom in 2016.
North Koreans are 21st century slaves. The people like me escaped from slavery at different times, but there are still many are enslaved and suffering.
Two focused on the Chinese regime, including a leading Hong Kong activist and pop star Denise Ho. She urged the audience to reject authoritarianism, unlike certain corporations who've been influenced by the Communist Party for personal interests.
U.S. corporations such as NBA, Blizzard, Vance, Apple, are all succumbing to this kind of political pressure.
And talking about doing business with the Chinese Communist Party, Professor Christopher Balding exposed the regime's ties with Huawei, a company seeking to expand its 5G services around the world.
And it's very clearly providing services that help improve the efficiency and objectives of oppression and human rights violations. So they're clearly actively seeking to fulfill the needs of a client, which in this case would be the CCP, which is seeking to crack down on the spread of human rights and democracy.
Balding said that Huawei's technology is used to persecute people of faith through data collection and facial recognition.
I lived in China for 9 years, and one of the things that you saw was for many years, it seemed to be just Falun Dafa that was being persecuted. I think what has surprised many people is how much they've been cracking down on Muslims all over China. They've been cracking down on Christians.
After the forum, guests were motivated to do more.
Well, I'm from Hong Kong, so hearing Denise Ho speak was amazing. I feel very moved, and I think she did a really good job of reflecting the situation there. And events like this help you realize that sometimes being far away gives you more leverage to help back home.
Since 2009, the Oslo Freedom Forum has held yearly global events. Next year's will be in Mexico. Miguel Moreno, NTD News, New York.
A wildfire burning in California's wine country is still growing.
The blaze, which erupted last night in Sonoma, has already burned over 10,000 acres and forced mandatory evacuations of hundreds. California Forestry and Fire Protection spokesman Jonathan Cox saying winds that gusted at speeds up to 70 miles per hour last night have eased slightly, which can help firefighters. The Kincaid fire is still at 0% containment, with over 500 firefighters battling the blaze. While there have been reports of burned homes and structures, no injuries have been reported. The cause of the fire is still being investigated. It's not clear whether the area was also affected by the Pacific Gas and Electric Co. Utilities' preemptive power shutoffs put in place to prevent the company's equipment from sparking fires.
UK police say the 39 people found dead in the back of a truck earlier this week were all Chinese. They're continuing to question the driver of the vehicle.
The 39 people found dead in the back of a truck near London were Chinese, police said on Thursday. 8 of the deceased are women, 31 are men. That as police continued to question the driver of the vehicle, who was detained on suspicion of murder. Paramedics and police found the bodies of 38 adults and 1 teenager early on Wednesday in a truck container on an industrial estate at Grays, about 32 kilometres east of the British capital. The driver, a 25-year-old man from Northern Ireland, is being held in custody. A source familiar with the investigation said he was Mo Robinson from Portadown in the British province. Police said on Thursday 3 properties in Northern Ireland were being searched as part of the investigation. The truck trailer arrived at Purfleet Docks in Essex, southern England, having travelled from the Belgian port of Zeebrugge. For years, illegal immigrants have attempted to reach Britain, stowed away in the back of trucks. In the year 2000, the bodies of 58 Chinese people were found crammed into a tomato truck at the southern port of Dover. The vehicle had begun its journey in Zeebrugge.
Britain's Prime Minister said today that he is asking Parliament to approve a national election for December 12th. This is part of his efforts to ensure the UK leaves the European Union.
If they genuinely want more time to study this excellent deal, they can have it, but they have to agree to a general election on December the 12th. And that's the way forward.
Members of Parliament will vote on Monday whether to hold an election. It will require a 2/3 majority to be approved. Opposition parties have pledged to block Johnson's bid for a snap election. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said he will only back Johnson if a no-deal Brexit is off the table. However, if Johnson wins Monday's vote in Parliament, then it will be up to him to set the date.
Up next, a reporter spoke to volunteers in Hong Kong who work on Lenin walls. Residents use the walls to support the pro-democracy protests. More on that when we return.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format, where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
The lasting beauty of traditional oil painting, realistic style, brilliant, moving, expressive. 2019 NTD Television International Competition for Figure Painting in Oil, guided by truthfulness, kindness, and beauty. We invite you to join us on our journey back to traditional art. Gold Prize Award of $10,000. For more detail, please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
Hong Kong's push for true democracy has an interesting feature: Lenin walls. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg spoke with volunteers at one of the city's largest Lenin walls.
Lenin walls seem to be popping up everywhere in Hong Kong.
Here, in everywhere, and 18th district in Hong Kong, is let the people freedom of expression. And we are angry, we are raged, and because some of the people cannot go up front to the front line, and some elderly, they wanted to help.
The Lenin Wall represents a monument to free speech and nonviolent war against communist regimes.
I'm 17 years old. I come here to voice out my mind to the Hong Kong government. They shut the people, and I feel very angry, and so that I come here to volunteer.
Time after time, pro-China people and authorities tear down the posters but citizens keep on rebuilding them.
And I feel like, well, they tear it up and tear it off. I don't care. As long as they keep ripping it off, I'll just keep sticking them back up again.
I won't stop them because it's very dangerous if they do something to can harm us. So I will let them do to destroy, and we will do it back.
Stationery and sticky notes are supplied for people passing by to leave a message in a memo. Pro-democracy posters and signs are also pasted and taped to the floor, walls, and ceilings.
For example, I walk through the tunnel and I have something want to tell the people who walk through the tunnel, and I stay here, write something and stick it.
Volunteers say they have talked to those who are depressed because of the situation in Hong Kong and offer counsel.
We have 2 cases in here, 2 females. Before they came to this tunnel, they already has a plan to suicide, to kill themselves. But before they walk down to this tunnel and they look at each memo and they see the warm feeling.
Cases like this make volunteers feel their role is an important form of support for the protests.
She feels family like a family, so that day she decided not to follow her plan.
Last week, a 19-year-old boy was cut on the throat and stabbed in the stomach by a pro-communist man while handing out democracy flyers at a Lenin wall.
This man is coming from mainlander, and he has knife on his pocket, which is he has the weapon, and he has intention, and he lashed and he stabbed this guy. Is only 19 years old.
And in August, a man from communist-controlled China knifed 2 women for posting memos on a Lenin wall, as well as a man who tried to intervene. One of them was left in critical condition. The term Lenin Wall goes back to the totalitarian era in the Czech Republic, when the pacifist youth in Prague expressed their hopes and dreams on a wall that came to be known as the John Lennon Peace Wall. Risking prison, youth would defy authorities to write on the wall, an act the communist police called subversive activities against the state. Some say the wall in Prague helped inspire the non-violent Velvet Revolution that led to the fall of communism in former Czechoslovakia in 1989. One aspect of the Lenin Walls is a means to raise awareness and spread messages, but another is a form of support. For many, it's a way to unite and reassure each other that they're not alone. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News, Hong Kong.
Up next, the man who invented rechargeable lithium batteries is now 78 years old. NTD's Sherwin Rong sat down with him to hear about his life's work and what led to his world-changing invention. That and more after the break. What defines you? NTD reporter Sherwin Rong speaks with the inventor of rechargeable lithium batteries.
Change your plans.
Now 78, Dr. Michael Stanley Whittingham still excited about batteries. Even now, visiting labs and teaching around the globe.
Yes, this is the... Aren't you going to retire? I said, no, I like what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing it.
All the time when I get bored of it, my wife says the same thing. We'll keep teaching. And my doctor says, don't retire.
A key figure in history, Whittingham developed the first rechargeable lithium batteries that we can't live without today.
We started building a battery just in a test tube, not in any special environment, and got some clues that it would work. This is one
Coming from a little town, Lincolnshire, England, his high school teacher got him excited about chemistry.
Well, in those days you could make chemicals. You could blow things up and things that you not allowed to do. So I got excited about chemistry. And this is about
While many went to North America and Canada, he decided to follow the sunshine and came to Stanford University. After 2 years of postdoctoral research, he started to work for Exxon. That was the place where he discovered the first lithium battery.
The wish was for electric vehicles. In reality, we thought small electronic devices.
He never thought his invention would change the world.
No, even 15 years ago, the phone, you need a whole briefcase to carry it in. So I think, the lithium batteries helped all these little devices.
After decades, Stanley won the 2019 Chemistry Nobel Prize along with 2 other scientists.
You're going to make mistakes, but don't worry about that. If you don't make mistakes, you won't make the big breakthrough. You have to persevere.
However, research in academia is something he always wanted to come back to, so he took a professorship at Binghamton University in the late 80s and continued his research on batteries.
So this is made plus of academia. You get 18-year-olds every year coming in. So it keeps you younger. You're working with younger people.
But, he said, in the end what really matters is that you like what you do.
I think you're successful if you're happy with what you're doing.
And that is also how he motivates his students.
They've got to do something they enjoy doing. Don't do it for the money. That won't work.
Now, 30 years later, he's still teaching, and it's his passion that keeps him young at heart. Reporting by Shiwen Rong, NTD News.
Way up in the air, over 1,000 feet from street level, the finishing touches are being put on the highest outdoor observation deck in the Western Hemisphere.
At 1,131 feet above street level, the Edge is being built as part of the new luxury Hudson Yards complex in New York City. The outdoor observation deck offers a sweeping bird's-eye view of Manhattan, and on a good day you can see as far as 80 miles away.
It amazes me that from one spot I can see the Statue of Liberty all the way around to Central Park and every icon that you've always read about, that you know about, that you want to see. And from here, you can see it all in one spot.
Slated glass barriers allow visitors to lean over the city, and a glass floor allows visitors to see below. Built to extend out from the side of the building and at 100 and 101 floors above ground with no ground support to hold it into place, the observation deck required unique engineering.
So we actually built Edge kind of at an angle, knowing that as we put more and more of the structure together, it would pull itself back down to level. So the first pieces were angled up more towards the sky, and then as all the last pieces came in, it kind of levels itself out. And engineering-wise, it's amazing.
The observation deck joins those on New York City's Empire State Building, World Trade Center, and Rockefeller Center. The Edge will open to the public on March 11th, 2020.
Up next, a highly anticipated exhibit on Leonardo da Vinci opens at the Louvre. It features paintings, sculptures, drawings, and letters. More on that when we return.
Our investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
Viewers have described China Uncensored like The Daily Show, but about China.
In China, something can be illegal, but still in common practice. For example, bribery, or intellectual property theft, or Uber.
At the beginning, I was super excited when I got 500 views, and now the show's grown to about 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. One episode reached 7.9 million people and counting. I'm a little freaked out that many people have seen my face.
Hey, have you heard of China Uncensored? It's starring me.
It's more and more obvious that China is having a major influence on the U.S.
Hey, have you heard of China Uncensored? 中国揭秘.
In 5 years, I see China Uncensored as the only show on TV or the internet. It will be the sole source of edutainment worldwide.
Have you heard of China Uncensored?
Yeah, I have.
You actually have? He's heard of China Uncensored.
I love China Uncensored.
500 years after the death of Leonardo da Vinci, the Louvre Museum pays homage to the Italian genius. It was a major undertaking for the museum curators who worked more than 10 years to make the exhibition happen. NTD's David Vives has the details.
France's Louvre Museum, home to Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, opened its much-anticipated exhibition to the public on October 24th to mark the 500th anniversary of the Italian master's death.
With 162 paintings and drawings by the Renaissance master, this is the largest exhibition ever realized on Da Vinci's artwork and life. And the success is huge. 260,000 places have been booked so far.
The exhibition displays 22 of Da Vinci's drawings and several paintings, including The Virgin of the Rocks, or The Virgin and Child with Saint Anne.
We have, for example, one wonderful painting coming from the Hermitage at St. Petersburg in Russia, so the Madone Benoit. We have the Saint Jerome coming from the Vatican, and we have also the Vitruvian Man coming from Venice.
A compassionate smile, a mysterious invitation, a booklet with reverse writing. Many secrets seem to hide within Da Vinci's artworks. The exhibition sheds a light on the Renaissance painter's process, giving life to what he called the divine science of painting. It took 10 years for curator Vincent de Levin to prepare the exhibition and overcome all challenges. He had to negotiate the transport of very fragile works, like the Vitruvian Man, that wasn't expected at the exhibition 1 week ago until de Levin's efforts made it possible.
I can understand that my colleagues from Venice at the beginning were quite frightened because it's also a piece of paper, but at the end the condition of the drawing was good and it was possible to transport it from Venice to Paris.
Da Vinci spent the last 3 years of his life in France on the king's invitation, which is the reason why the Louvre today has most of his paintings.
He became a universal genius. His works, his paintings, drawings impressed everybody in the world.
Da Vinci kept on studying and perfecting his art all his life, trying to understand the world around him and above, before becoming the legend that the world is now trying to understand.
And that's all for today's NTD News. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paul Graney.